Kapil, thank you. How do you communicate to somebody with love when it's guided?
I mean, it's a fair question, but it's my response is not going to go anywhere with you. You're not ready for the answer. I say that in the most sincere way.
Hello. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to ask this question. My question is very personal, but I'm wondering if you would give a very generalized response to it. The question is, how do I become someone who does not get angry and handle situations calmly, no matter how stressful?
Then it also requires abandonment of any ambition. Then what is left for the person to strive for?
Well, these are words are words. I mean, you're tossing these words around. I have no idea what context that you're using them in. You mentioned the word abandonment. What does that mean? I have no idea what that means to you. So if you ask a question using words such as that, then it's all dependent upon a context. And without the framework of that context, any question that is founded upon that unexplained premise does not really lend itself to a response.
Yeah, so my question was, if you go through an event which creates, fractures your sense of self and the attachments that you have, and as a result you feel less kind of emotions as a result, it's still possible to have the large drives that propel people to desire to achieve great things.
I mean, it doesn't matter if I say yes or no. If that happened to you, and if the drives for ambition arise or do not arise, that will give you your answer. If I say yes, then that means nothing to you because they haven't happened. If they did happen, you wouldn't be asking the question. And if I say no, then that means that it's impossible for it ever to happen, which nobody can say. So only your experience can tell you what the answer to that question is.
Hi Kapil, thanks for your time, and you may ask next person to speak. At this moment, I have no question like what shall I ask. So thank you very much, and apologize for wasting the time.
Hi Kapil, in your opinion, why are we here?
I mean, the answer is a philosophical one, and it doesn't do anybody any relevance because their life is beset by problems, and those are far more acute and relevant to their state than it is to hide behind philosophy.
Hi, Kapil. I have a question about my day-to-day life. So, as I go about my day, for example, if I leave the house or if I get something to eat, certain things will trigger a anxiety response. So if I leave the house, I'll get the response that I'll have to check the stove to make sure it's off so that the house doesn't burn down. Or if I eat something, I'll be like, this has X ingredient in it that I want to avoid. I find that these types of things happen throughout my day, and they're not really they kind of ruin the quality of my day and take a little bit away from it. I'm curious if if I don't, or if I no longer allow them to have power over me and no longer affect me, if they will actually come true. So for example, if I don't care about the stove being off, if the house will burn down, or if I don't care about the ingredient in the food, if I'll get sick, if that makes sense.
Try it.
Hi, Kapil. So since I found your work, I've felt that I'm in conflict with my mind, between my mind and my sense of self behind that. And I was wondering, is there anything that you think is a quality or attribute to me that is more or separate from my mind, something that, I can kind of almost use in this battle against it, if that makes sense, or I could clarify.
No. And as for the other individual who I said to try it, he doesn't have to try it. I'm not recommending that he do try it. But to try it basically means that if he wants to know whether his fears come true or not by not acknowledging them the only way to really know is by trying it. It doesn't mean that he should, doesn't mean that he shouldn't. But if one has a question like that, that's really the only way that one can know, if they really want to find out. But I don't recommend that he try it or not try it. But I don't want to force anyone into any prescription.
I'm trying to give up on happiness, not in a bad way, but I feel my ego prevent me. I'm asking is there a way I can use my ego to help me with that? What's
Hello, my question is, are you attached to your family?
Hey, Kapil. I've come across a lot of people who mention that cheap dopamine is bad, and no one seems to think about why it's bad. I was wondering if you had any opinion.
Whenever anyone mentions dopamine, he's an intellectual. Therefore, he's basically exempt from truth. There's no shot.
What is the difference between sincerity and honesty?
Hi. In the context of building a company, having mental energy feels very important, and mental stamina. Do you have any thoughts on where mental energy and stamina comes from, and how?
I have no idea what that even is. I have no idea what mental energy. These are just words. I have no idea what mental energy. I know what stamina. If someone's running 10 miles and they're able to last the 10 miles, they obviously have some stamina. And if they run 20 miles, they have more stamina. All these pseudo-spiritual, intellectual garbage words, mental energy has no meaning. Those are just two words, and then they're just placed, they're forced together. Mental stamina, mental energy, I don't know what that means.
Mm-hmm. Doing more, being able to do more in a day to keep up with obligations.
Well,
is that any more clear?
Well, I mean, everyone asks the wrong questions. So why do you want to do more? And if you have so many obligations, then you probably have too many. So you probably are just spending your whole life putting out fires. And the question becomes, well, why are there so many fires? So everyone is asking questions that the world has taught them to ask. They're not asking questions that truly benefit them. They're only asking questions about where's the fire hydrant, and where's the bucket of water that I can have. These are not serious questions. They're not. These are questions that you ask normal people in the world, and the experts, and the gurus, and the psychologists, and they don't work in this domain. This is for serious. This is for cures. This is to come to the true cause of things and the true essence of things, not to chase more mental energy or whatever all that nonsense is.
I'm wondering why so many people strive to be like you when they know nothing about how you live or the quality of your life.
I don't know who strives to be like me, to be honest. I mean, I don't talk to people to find out if, if they do, they do. I don't recommend that anyone try to strive to be like me or anybody else. It really just lies in how they themselves can be, the most effective or access the essence of their abilities and their potential. I don't know. This is the first time hearing that people are trying to strive to be like me. And if they are, if anyone happens to be doing that, I mean, it's up to them. But I don't. They are more important to their lives than I am.
Hi, Kapil. When I think obsessively about a problem in programming or something about a topic in writing and sleep on it, the answers come naturally next day morning or while walking in nature or when I'm not actually not looking at it. So why best ideas and decisions come this way? I just want to know.
I'm not interested in curiosity questions.
My question is, who's talking? Who's speaking? What makes you think or believe you can help anyone just by uttering words or speaking?
Am I helping you?
I'm just being entertained. If that is,
no. I'm asking you. Am I helping you?
Not really.
Right now, I agree. So there's no reason for you to be here.
Hi, Kapil. I understand that all attachments lead to disappointment as well as expectations. So,
what does that mean that you understand that? What does that mean?
I understand that every time there's an attachment.
Based upon what tells you that you understand that?
That's happened every single time I've had an attachment.
Okay, so then you've seen the result of that. But what tells you that you really understand? What evidence do you have, not for me, but for yourself, that you really understand that?
The evidence of every experience I've ever had in that.
No, that's not an evidence. That's an evidence. That's an evidence that happened. What is the evidence that you actually understand that?
I suppose there is none yet.
Therefore, you don't understand.
Only able to love one thing in a day. So like either I'm working or I can like talk to my girlfriend, but like I don't feel the connection of the other thing. So how do I feel the connection with both of things?
Hello. Uh, Sorry, I don't really have a question, but thank you.
Hi, Kapil. So I have a question. After years of struggle, uh, I recently got a huge success. I was very poor for years, and I certainly have. I'm a software engineer in Bay Area, so I have a lot of money right now. How do I? What do I do right now to stop myself from getting used to this comfortable state that I'm in, and so that I don't form attachment to this, and when this thing gets taken away from me, I don't go into depression or like I don't feel I want to be the same even when everything gets taken away from me. How do I reach that state of the mind?
That's a very systematic endeavor. There's nothing that I can tell you that you should do this or that. I mean, that's a very pure thing, and that can take years. That's a very systematic endeavor. So I cannot tell you anything, but I can tell you that that's possible. But there's nothing I can say to that as to. Well, that's like saying, how do I climb Mount Everest? Can you give me a tip? It doesn't work like that.
Hello. Can you hear me? Okay. Hi, Kapil. I've heard you say in your lectures that people get what they want. And while I agree for the most part with respect to decision making, occupation, etc., people very much end up in places and situations that they can tolerate. How would you say people get what they want, though, with respect to health conditions that befall them that they end up struggling with? Is that something separate? How do you think about that?
Well, it's all about context.
Hello, Kapil. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My question is, since I've been reading your lectures, I found some states of mind where I think are truthful, and sometimes my confusion is if I am in the right path for truth, or is it just my ego? I find myself asking me that question sometimes.
If someone arrives at a truth, can they lose sight of it? Or if they do,
Well, if they, and that's why everything is about intellectual versus visceral, and truth versus information. If something is really arrived at, it's arrived at. I mean, the person changes forever, and so that's why self-improvement and self-development, spirituality, self-growth, all these things are really just nonsense, because they're all a constant sense of improvement, and no sooner have you so-called improved that you revert.
That's what I might.
Hey, Kapil. Thank you for having me here. Initially, I never understood when you talked about concepts that, hey, everything is a concept, and that I'm not interested in concept. But more I thought about it, now I realize that how concept hides real truth or the essence of the truth. But that creates more confusion if everything is a concept. So the entire world is built on. And how do you get yourself detached from this? And I know I'm asking how question.
Well, no, I mean, no, it's a fair question. So everything is built upon concepts. That's correct. So really the thing to understand is that all that you think you know is really just concepts that you have been fed. by the world, by spirituality, by people around you, by your stupid friends, by your so-called teachers, by your idiotic mentors, by the books that you read, by the media that you watch. Everything that you fed has just been concepts. And so that is a far more deep thing to sink into and to learn than to reflexively ask how to then stop looking at concepts, because you have not yet realized. I mean, it's it's a feather in your cap, so to speak, that you have begun to at least realize the baby steps of everything being a concept, and that you have moved past not understanding that everything is a concept. But really the gravity of that has not yet been seen by you, because had it been seen, then you would not reflexively revert to the how-to question. And the bad thing is not that you ask the how-to question. Really, it is the lack of understanding, that you have not viscerally understood that which you only now have intellectually understood.
While I was thinking about what question to ask you, I found that every single one was self-answering. So my question is every question an insincere question, even this very one? Or do I simply not understand?
Well, I mean, every question tends to be an insincere question because of the way in which human beings have been conditioned. So if you have been taught ABC, then wherever you go, however old you are, up until this point, you've always said ABC. And whenever you've asked a question, it has been based upon ABC. And whenever you've received an answer, you have been given the answer in the form of ABC. Therefore, the only tools and the only conceptual framework that you have is ABC. So therefore, by definition, the questions are nonsense. However, there is a sincerity which can arise being more, that is deeper to the nonsense. And the sincerity being that I'm about to ask an ABC, but I really want to know in which ways I've been conditioned, because even though I only have ABC to offer right now, I would really like to get to the place where I can cleanse myself of the ABCs.
We are in a loop of everlasting loop of looking one prescription after another. So is there a way to come out of this? Because like after every prescription, another one seems to be more useful. So why we are in stuck in this kind of loop?
Why would you not be?
So that's my confusion actually, because one after another something seems.
No, that's not your confusion. That's not your confusion. You said, why are we? I'm asking you why you would not be.
So because one we go on for one thing, and after then it didn't work, and then seems like I should try something other, because we are always in.
Okay, and where did that come from?
That actually come from ourselves, that comes from ourselves, our inner.
Did it come from yourself? Did you manufacture the notion of prescriptions?
Like whatever prescription we go through, it somehow leaves something like it didn't work. So we are in tendency of trying.
You're not answering my question. You're not answering my question. Did you manufacture the notion of prescription?
No.
So where did you get it from?
So it's like I think my tendency to try something always. I think let me try.
Okay, do you remember ever sitting down and say, from now on, my tendency is always going to be raising one prescription after another, and my tendency is always going to be to try something afterwards. And from this day forward, that's what I'm going to do. Did that day ever happen?
That never happened, actually, Kapil. Sometimes.
So that if that never happened, then where did this prescription chasing come from?
That somehow seems to me like our tendency that something will work. Like this is somehow we there is, or if from inside us something that thinks like this will work. So I think this tendency of
But
knowing
but
that.
but you just said that you did not create the concept of prescription. You did not create that chase.
Yeah.
So if you did not create it, yet you follow it, where did it come from?
That's the that's the real thing that confuses me.
Where do you think it came from?
So I think somehow it is coming not from me, because I'm not
So where
sure
do you think
from
it? So
where
where
it
do you
is.
think it came from?
I'm not sure where it is coming from, but one thing I'm sure it's not coming from me because.
Okay, so it's not coming from you. So where do you think it came from?
That's really something I try to explore on my own, and somehow it's very tangible where it's coming from. It's coming from.
I don't think that you explored that. You don't think you explored that at all. Your question was, how do I stop the chase of prescriptions?
Yeah, that's.
You don't explore. You don't explore why you chase them in the first place. That isn't what you're exploring. That wasn't your question.
Yeah.
So if it didn't come from you, where do you think it came from?
I think it came from my somehow some book or anything that I read that or any suggestion that I
Sure.
got from.
Yes. Yeah. It came exactly. It came from whatever is around you.
Yeah. That's the.
Where it's a book or people or society. It came from everything around you, right?
Yeah. Right.
So the things that come from around you are all garbage.
Hello, Dr. Gupta. I have a natural sort of hunger and curiosity to try to understand the truth and learn about it. And there's also this tension with when I'm exploring those topics of going down different traps and just things that are kind of going in loops and things like that. It seems like that it's really difficult to tell whether the whole path, whether the whole journey, whole exploration itself is just a complete illusion that's keeping that is an obstacle in the truth revealing itself in some way. Is that?
Well, the more intellectual you are, or anyone is, the more that's true eventually.
Hello, Kapil. My question is, what is the first step of finding the truth in the all chaos of lies we have?
Well, I don't think that you have fully realized, number one, that it's all lies, and number two, the depth to which it is a lie.
My question is, so I have observed a pattern or a condition with me in last few years, and I would like your input or help to approach it or break it. So I've observed that I lose.
Hey, Dr. Gupta. You said in a podcast with Mo that man doesn't improve himself, only his self-image. Can you elaborate on that? I understand the context.
I just one question myself. Can you please explain about exposure you have been mentioning in many of your podcasts and writings?
So my question is that I have observed that at some moments in my life, I am very serious about seeking truth, and it felt like okay, it's a visceral feeling. I was sure of that, but even once I have realized, even if after realizing it once, I tend to fall back to the same loop in my life. But those moments keep coming up, and I keep falling into that visceral feeling of that everything is a lie and I must seek truth, but it's not constant. And so I'm thinking that the thing you mentioned about the depth to which the severity of lie goes, probably that depth, it's in levels, I think. So is it the case? Is it is that the reason that it's the that
I don't know the reason, but the statement was a true one, that the depth is rarely realized by almost everyone. I can't tell you if it's in levels or that doesn't matter. I mean, you're not trying to intellectualize it, but that statement stands on its own.
Hello. I recently realized that I wasted my entire adult life. I spent the entire time getting excited about something, putting my entire being into it, and then waking up one day realizing that the drive is gone. The only constant is playing music, and I've managed to make a decent living as a performing artist. I used to love it, but the magic is gone now. I find myself picking up a new direction every few months, thinking that it's my destiny, and then giving up completely. I'm at the point where I don't trust myself anymore. Do you have any insight into this cycle and why I'm stuck in this cycle? I can't keep wasting my life like this. Thank you.
I can't tell you why anything happens to you and why you're so-called stuck in the cycle. Maybe it's, I don't know. I mean, you're assuming you're stuck and you're assuming it's a cycle. I can't give you any insight as to why that's happening. I don't know your DNA.
From your writings in Absolute Truth, I got introduced to the idea that life is just play and attachments lead to fear and ego and all the resultant stressful noise around life. There are no shoulds, I understood, and I can make a choice what I want to give my attention to. But I end up making choices which I later discover were driven by ego or fear only. So will I never be able to arrive to the state? Some part of me probably likes hoarding and ego and this mess that is there.
I mean, I cannot speak for you, but the fact remains that the vast, overwhelming, practically 100% of humanity will never arrive at truth. But I can't. Once again, I'm not saying it for you, but I'm saying that that's just the general truth. And in fact, not only will human beings not arrive there, they don't even seek it. So arrival, by definition, is virtually almost gone unless it happens by pure accident. So there's always one or two or three or five in any generation, and you might be one of those. So I can't speak for you, but I can say that the vast and overwhelming majority will absolutely succumb to the fate that you have described.
Hello. Hey, Doc. Nice to hear you on here. We talk a lot about the present and arriving at the truth. I guess one of the things I was really curious about, especially after reading quite a bit of your work, is in your mind, what do you think when an individual, say hypothetically, that have arrived at the truth and now they're at their deathbed, what do you think would be going on in their head? Like what does that absolute state, the arrival, look like? And then once you're on your deathbed, what's going on in their head?
What's the difference? It'll just be a story to you. So it's just mere curiosity and stories and fairy tales.
Hi. My question is, why is it, for example, like I love to rock climb and I get really in the moment, like I become one with myself. I really enjoy the experience. But why is it other things in my life that I feel like I'm good at, like let's say like cooking food, like I can't get into it like I can in the rock climb? Is it just the physical activity, or I'm just not sure, like why is other things in life not flowing?
I mean, you're basically asking, why do I like one thing more than another, even though I happen to be good at more than one thing?
Thank you.
Hi, I had a question. So I'm not so sure if you'll be able to give me a response, but can you hear me?
I think I'm still under the influence of prescriptions, and oftentimes I try a prescription to try. I think like if I try enough prescriptions and they don't work, I should continue trying them, and then I'll realize they don't work, and then I'll realize prescriptions don't work in general, right? But that in and of itself is a prescription. And I don't mean to make this intellectual, but I think I'm asking, as I speak, I feel like I'm asking for a prescription to stop asking for prescriptions. So like I'm like stuck. Can you help?
So I've realized that everything I do or try to do, or every action that I take, is a way to impress other people or get validation from them or love from them. So everything I do is a way to get these small doses of temporary pleasure, maybe. And every doing seems to come from that place. Like it's to my mind is hooked onto those. So is there a true action or a true doing, or does that not exist? And is every action false?
I mean, any action that you take to try to fix that will be false.
How do you know if you are sincere?
When investigating my everyday actions, I notice that a lot of things are for appearance or just hits of happiness, which is nice during the day, and some things I've let go of. In that examining of those things, some of the things have dropped off naturally. Along with the actions, does the mind and the thoughts have to be examined thoroughly as well? Or is it just mind battling mind and then going in like some recursive loop? Is there a purpose to any of that, to examining thoughts and mind?
No, because that'll just take you down a more prescriptive path. So you had mentioned some things that are pretty sincere. And any foray, and as soon as you cross that line into the prescriptive domain, you're ruined. So you can watch your thoughts till the cows come home, and you can sit with every ponytailed guru you want, and burn the incense and watch your thoughts and be zen, and you will get absolutely nowhere, which is exactly where he is. So prescriptions are absolutely the road to nowhere. So that's what you're asking. So any watching your thoughts or doing this or doing that or attempting to fix your mind or whatever it is, all what spirituality and self-help is salivating about, those are the road to spend 500 years remaining exactly where you are.
Learned that people pleasing is a trauma response, and I just wanted to know if that's accurate, because I tend to want to make sure that I do things for my parents and they're proud and they're happy, and people tell me that's people pleasing.
Okay, so people tell you, who are these people who are telling you this?
Friends and family, like certain cousins, when I go above and beyond for doing things for my family.
Okay, first of all, you're mumbling, or you're too close to the microphone, and I can't hear you.
Friends and certain family members, like my cousins and my siblings.
So have they found truth?
No, I guess no.
Then why are you listening to them?
Thank you.
Hello, Kapil. I waste a lot of time because when I'm in a focused state for a long period of time, I don't know. I'm not used to it, and I feel uncomfortable, and I come out of that, and occasionally I feel like I'm ready to be in a state that's focused all the time, and it lasts for a couple days or a few days until I'll realize that it feels forced, and then conflict is born, and I always fall out of that. My question is, when I've finally understood what must be understood, will it feel natural, and like I don't need to force that focus?
I mean, so what if it will feel like that or not feel like that? So what?
Yeah, I guess the conflict arises.
Is ambition always rooted in insecurity, or is there any other truth to it?
What's the difference? Do you have ambition?
Yes.
And if I told you it's rooted in insecurity, are you going to kill it?
No.
Then what's the difference? I can't hear you.
Hello. Is this better?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, can thought ever be an engine or a way to realize something about yourself, or the truth, knowing that it has been completely hijacked by the mind for years? Like, is it even possible, or is it also a way to fool ourselves?
I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's possible or not. What matters is what's practically relevant, and on a practical basis, everything that you listen to from a place of conditioning, which basically exists inside of every human being, is unless he or she unconditions themselves, they're basically conditioned. Therefore, all they're ever going to hear from themselves is conditioned things that they have taken from the outside.
My question for you is, have you found what you have been looking for?
Hey Kapil,
I want to ask you, outside of your teachings, where can we find the truth?
Hello, Dr. Gupta. You once had a tweet where you said that the greatest people who have ever lived are people that we've never heard of. And I'm wondering if those people decided in your image or your knowledge of those people to not be heard of, if they made a decision to.
I don't know. I don't even know who those people are. I don't remember writing that message. If you say that that's what I wrote, it's very possible that I did. And if those people are there, I don't know what they were thinking or not. But I will say, I mean, in that along those lines, that the people who try to make themselves popular and to really cater to the masses and the popularity and the popularism and the mass appeal and the dumbing down, and that never is truth, and that basically is all that exists in the world.
Is everyone unhappy for the same reason?
Why does it matter? How will that help you?
Well, it's not personal. I just asked. Is it the same reason?
Hello, hi, Mr. Kapil. How can I be more efficient and?
Hey, Kapil, thanks for having me. Is it possible to earn a living not appealing to the masses as opposed to catering to them?
Why do you ask?
Because I have a couple of ideas that I want to get off the ground, and I have no interest in dumbing things down or selling to the max number of people. But I want to know, does that make my life harder if I sort of turn my back on the masses?
Depends what you mean by make your life harder.
I mean, making money. Would that be harder when you're not selling, when you're not targeting the masses?
Well, that's a pretty simple question. What do you think?
Well, you're probably one of the only ones I know who has made a living not targeting the masses. Everyone else that I see targets the masses. So it's
that's because that's not, but for me that's not a strategy, right? I don't have a choice. I'd rather live in the street homeless and hungry than cater to the masses. I despise the masses. So that question could never, and I'm not saying this is the way it should be for you. I'm simply responding because you mentioned my situation. This was never a strategy for me. If I despise the masses, then it's never a possibility for me to cater to the masses or not, whether I become the richest person in the world or I become the poorest person in the world. But if that's a choice for you, that if you might go into poverty by not doing so, and most would argue, probably very reasonably so, that it's not going to make you any money, or it's not going to make you much money, and it certainly won't make you as much money unless you cater to the masses. I don't think that you didn't have that answer already. I don't think that you expected to hear that you will make more money if you don't cater to the masses.
I was actually hoping to hear that, but
why would you think that? Why would you think that you would make more by catering not to the masses?
It's more in line with truth. And
who the hell wants truth? Okay, you probably have relatives and family and friends and acquaintances and colleagues. Do you know one who wants truth?
Not that I've seen.
So who are you going to cater to then? Who's out there?
Yeah, I don't know.
Hello. Every time I try to do something, it doesn't get me anywhere. I try to be more aware, but once I'm not aware, I'm back to where I started. Nothing builds anything. I'll read books or try to understand things, but I'm still the same. I don't know how to.
That's called following prescriptions. Self-help, self-development, and spirituality.
Hey, Kapil, can you hear me? Sorry, this thing is new. Please say
you can hear me, so I know I'm talking. Hey, Kapil. Thank you so much for all your sharings, the public domain. I am truly grateful for you for opening my eyes to prescriptions. Um, I was chasing them for almost 12 years now. I have a whole new perspective on how to approach my seeking. My question is on arrivals. When I self-examine myself, I find that my ultimate arrival is just like what you mentioned, which is the the ultimate freedom, the freedom from mind. But I also have this deep obsession of building a startup, and that would someday make, be worth billions. And I feel that this is some kind of, is there like a arrival before the ultimate arrival? And I feel like I'm fragmented here. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, there's no reason that those cannot coexist. I mean, whatever, there's no rules. So whatever you're feeling, you're feeling. Problems arise when you feel like that you shouldn't feel that and you should feel the other thing.
Hi there, doctor. So my question is, why do I find myself? Okay, why do I find myself making things that are just simple things more complicated than it has to be?
Has ingeniously hidden its secrets where no sane man would look, I think. So, over the past year, I've realized the futility of prescriptions as it pertains to my craft of singing. And I'm constantly looking out for spaces, or like I'm trying different things with my voice that I haven't explored while looking for the effect of ease of expression. But I'm acutely aware that I have been affected like billions with conditioning. So I'm trying to understand, like, what am I missing that takes me straight to the source?
What's the problem?
Okay.
Hi there. So my question is, would it make more sense to make life more challenging to get to the truth quicker?
Why would that make it? Why would making life more challenging get to the truth quicker? You imply as if your life is not challenging enough. I know nothing about your life, but you're implying that your life is not challenging.
Yes. So I guess not challenging. Then what would
Is it? Does your life not have challenges?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Is like what sort of challenge am I looking for? That's what I'm trying to figure.
Why would you be looking? Don't you already have them?
Well, in context, yes, but I don't know. I guess in hindsight, I'm looking for something a little bit.
Do you not have problems?
I do, for sure. I do.
Okay, so if you have problems, have you figured out the truth?
Some of them, yes.
Okay, so then you don't have problems anymore?
I do.
So if you have problems and you haven't figured out the truth for them, you're asking that you want to get more problems to help to figure out the truth quicker?
My craft of engineering, I often get lost in daydream or thought involuntarily. It happens to me. It's about something random or relationship or some other worry or some other thought. Is there a training I'm missing? Is there some truth I don't know? What?
Is there any truth to the law of assumption? Do you believe in it?
Are you an intellectual?
No.
You're not an intellectual?
I was.
So then, if you bring didactics into here, I have no clue what you're talking about. I don't follow any spiritual laws or intellectual or didactic laws. So I don't walk around with an encyclopedia of the laws that I need to know so that I can converse at cocktail parties. So I have no idea what you're talking about by law of assumption. I mean, speak in English.
I'm sorry. Maybe visualizing certain things. Can we manifest that through visualizing certain goals?
I think, this is not a bad thing or a good thing. I just don't think that you've been around this particular domain that you happen to find yourself in long enough. There's nothing here related to prescriptions, methods, techniques, how-tos, or any of that stuff.